What's going on, everybody? I'm doing a behind the scenes look of the Open Exchange podcast, and I'm going to show you all the equipment that I use. I'm going to do editing tutorial, give you an idea of what my workflow is like. I was surprised to know that a lot of people were interested in seeing how I edit the podcast. A lot of this information is out there, but I'm going to try to simplify this. It's not perfect for me, but I want you guys to check out all the equipment that I use and go through the steps with me so you guys get to learn a little bit about how I edit my podcast from beginning to end. So let's check this out. So I use two different iPhones. I use an iPhone 14, as you guys can see right here. I'm actually recording, it might be a little glare here, but this is an iPhone 14 Plus that I use for one of my camera shots, and I have it here because I'm going to demonstrate how I edit the podcast. This is the Sony Alpha 7 III. It's a phenomenal camera. I do wish that I did a little more research when I started this process because it does shut off after 30 minutes, but it's an awesome camera. It provides me really good quality, and hopefully down the road I can add a few more. And this is an inside look here of my equipment. So when I started the podcast in 2024, I was using a Maono microphone and a Focusrite interface. And as I kind of went down the rabbit hole of continuing to learn the type of content I want to create and the stuff that I need, I've come across some quality products. So what you're looking at right here, this is the Rodecaster Duo. It's a pretty beast of a device. I love it, but there is a lot more capabilities that I haven't even tapped into it, but it allows me to manage my levels. It also allows me to pair a couple other devices to it. Like right now, as I speak to you guys and share this, I'm using my Rode Wireless Go 2s, which is which is a super cool feature where it can connect to that. What you guys are seeing here, these are the Rode Pod mics, $100. These are, I would think, probably one of the better inexpensive microphones on the market, and they sound good. Most podcasters are using the Shure SMB7s. You'll see that on pretty much every show, but I think that these do equally as good of a job, if not a little bit better. I actually really like the sound quality. I've used the Shure SMB7s and they sound great, but again, for the price, I think the Shure SMB7s are about $500. These were $100 each. I also have the USB mic, Rode Pod mic, the USB Rode Pod mic. This one right here, the reason why I got that is because the Rodecaster Duo, it doesn't have a third XLR component. So from time to time, whenever I have a third guest on, I like to use this one here so it can allow me to have a third guest. And then if I wanted to get really fancy and have a 4-guest show, I can then connect the wireless me so we can have this dialogue. So that's really cool. So I'm going to, let's see, is there anything else that I'm missing here? Oh, so these right here are the PSA boom arms by Rode. I love Rode's product. They are really quality products. I started with some other stuff and ended up landing on Rode, and it's been my sweet spot, if you will. So I'm gonna take you guys into the software. I'm gonna kind of take you guys into the day-to-day of how I manage my workflows for the podcast. Check, mic check. So my system is not perfect. It works for me. I want to show you guys. I think that content creation, anybody can do it. Everything that I learned through YouTube. YouTube, I've said a million times, is masterclass for anything that you want to learn. So I'm going to show you guys how I do this from beginning to end. I'm not going to finish the entire podcast editing, but I think that you guys would get the picture of what I do, how I do it. I'm going to show you a few little things, a few little tips too as well, okay? So the software that I use is Adobe Premiere Pro. Adobe Premiere Pro, they have, I think 2024 version, 2025 version. There's several versions out there. I haven't really dabbled into the newer version. I'm not sure exactly, to be completely honest, how to use it. So I'm gonna show you exactly what I do from a workflow standpoint. Normally, what I'll do is I will jump into. So as you guys saw, I use my iPhones and my Sony A7 III. So I'd have a shot, which is kind of, you get the whole setting of me and my guest up here. They could see the open exchange. And then I have a B shot and a C shot. What I do normally is I open up a new project. And, for the most part, what you guys will see here is I have a open exchange folder. The Open Exchange folder has every single one of my guests' files on here. So when I know that I have somebody coming on, so for example, I had a good friend, Troy Brunson, come on. We'll work on his together here. So I'll pull up all the footage that I put in there, again, from my iPhones, which is easy to airdrop into my MacBook. It's super easy to do that. And then I use an SD card to export the file from the Sony A7 III, and I will then choose the location from the folder here. Let's see if I can find it quickly. Nope. Let's see. So the Open Exchange, I'll find Troy Brunson, and then I'll hit choose. Again, I think there's a lot more easier ways to do this. I just do it this way because it's really what worked for me. There was a lot of trial and error because Adobe Premiere Pro does have a little bit of a learning curve. So what I'll do first is I'll type in Troy Brunson, and I'm going to give, like I said, I'm going to give you guys some tips. So as I'm preparing, so the thing that I do beforehand when I am doing the podcast, I have all of my guests fill out this intake form. So let me just type in intake form so you guys can see it. So here we go. Intake form, podcast intake form. And the guests can literally fill this out as much as they want, as little as they want, but it helps me get an idea as to what they want to exchange about. Again, the Open Exchange for me gives people the platform to exchange any idea. I like conversations. I like thought-provoking conversations. So then I'll first have them fill this out. And they'll fill out all the information that's on here. So, what's their website? What's their Instagram handle? What's their LinkedIn? What's their TikTok, YouTube channel? Any links that you'd like to promote for business, books, events, any lead magnets, any short bios about themselves, long bios, so their story, and then they'll go through this piece here. And this is where the meat and potatoes are. It gives me some good guidance to say, all right, these are the questions I want to ask them, but here's a little cheat. This is one of the things I do, which is super, super helpful. What I'll do is I have a million windows open here. So I'm going to pull up ChatGPT, which is one of my best friends in the content creation space. So what I'll do is let's just take ChatGPT, and for simplicity, I'll just show you what I'll do. So first, what I'll do is I'll take an intake form that somebody sent me. So intake form. So we'll click it and I'll load it into ChatGPT. And then I'll say, please create for me an outline for my podcast episode with, let's just say, Troy Brunson, right? And boom, I'll put this in and it'll create the outline with Troy for me. So this is kind of helps me stay honest. So, with only having done this for a year and a half, it's important for me to make sure that I have something to reference. And from time to time, I'll lose train of thought. And as I edit through the show, I'll, have to reference this or reference some of the questions that I have now. So that's one little tip. I'll show you something else after this, after I kind of get going here. So let's get to the editing portion of the podcast here. So I'll take the files, all of which I have exported either from my iPhones or from the Rodecaster Duo, because the Rodecaster Duo has a little SD card that, even as we're going through this right now, is capturing the audio. And what I need to do first here is I'll take all of the files. Okay. These are again with Troy. And I'll drag them onto the timeline right here. And it will put them all it's basically in order. And one of the more important things that needs to be done here, I think is probably the first thing that I do, is I know that I need to isolate the file. So you can see here, each file has their own audio version, and this green audio right here is captured from the Rodecaster Duo. So I need to first isolate these so that way I can sync them. So the first thing I'll do is I will highlight all of these, all 4 of these, which are again the camera from the Sony and then the iPhones, and I would right click as I highlighted all 4, and you need to unlink them. Unlink them allows me to separate them. Now these 2 are already separated, but I want to move this one up top, and then I have to move this audio file to match the one that I just did from that same file. And I'll do this for the rest of them, right? So we'll do that. You do have to, because I try to get fancy and overcomplicate things, you're going to have to add some tracks if you have multiple cameras. So you got to hit right click this little bar here on the left and hit add track, and you'll have to do the same thing. Actually, I believe you can just drag down. Oh, nope, you can't. You have to do the same thing here, add track. Okay, same thing, add another track. Again, there's a lot faster ways to do this. So anyone who watches this, hopefully you can figure out the faster way. I know them, but I'm just so used to doing things this way, and it just works for me. So as you see here, I'm adding all the tracks that I need to, and I'll hit add tracks for these audio files on the bottom. Whoops. I'll do add tracks for the audio file right here on the bottom. And we'll go ahead and drag the audio from the Rodecaster Duo into these last blocks here. Okay. So this is the first thing I do. Okay. So right now, none of these are synced. If I hit play, there's multiple tracks. You can't really hear it right now, but if I hit play, it's all over the place. It's not synced. Okay. So what I need to do is hit Control A, which will select them all. Okay. And you hit right click again, and there's a little synchronize button. The synchronize button, you just hit OK. And right now it's doing its work, and it's going to synchronize all of the audio files with this blue file, because when you're using multiple cameras, and if you have an external audio source, you need these files to be in sync to make sure that when you are editing, you can transfer the mics into your footage. So here we go. This is all, you can see now it has separated, right? It separated each individual file. And the nice thing about it too is that it does it from in order. So like if your files here, your camera files, for whatever reason, exported not in order, it will put them all in order for you, which is super nice based off of these sound waves. So the next thing I'll do here is I will go ahead and delete these, because those are the audio files that I do not need. Okay, so I'll delete those, and then I will go ahead and now delete the tracks that I need to delete, so I'm not so busy down here, if that makes sense. So, you can have running tracks here that makes it a little chaotic. But now if I hit play, you can see that it's in sync now. And that's cool. So that's the first thing that I do here. The next thing that I do is I kind of want to start the process of where's the beginning. Okay. So usually the beginning is somewhere in here where I start. And you take this little tool here, which is the razor, and I will normally go to where the beginning of the main audio is, and I'll just clip out the unnecessary stuff here. That will kind of allow me to kind of get this process rolling, and then I can bring the timeline all the way to the beginning, select all, and drag it. And now we're at the beginning of the episode. So let's check this out here. Make sure. Yeah. Yeah. See, it's all good now. All right. So that's kind of the beginning process of this. I would say that this podcast episode will probably take me about an hour and a half or so to kind of go through. I don't know if it's the right way to do it, but I am always going through this one time for the most part. And like where there's necessary cuts that have to be made, I'll go in and do that. But for the most part, this is kind of how I do this here. So let's go ahead and delete this track. So now I have my camera A. If that's the camera on Troy. I have my other camera B. What I like to do, and this is a shout out to Think Media. What I like to do is I will do a fourth camera, which I'll show you guys here in a second. What I do is I literally will hit copy on this file here, and I want to copy camera 1, and then I'm going to go ahead and take it and drag it all the way to the beginning of the timeline, and then I'll take camera 2 and do the same thing. And I'll show you guys in a little bit why. So it adds a fourth camera element, maybe a little more dynamic presentation when you're viewing it. And there we go. So there's that. And then the next thing I do is we have to, because I can only do 4 cameras, at least from what I know, we have to make these 3 files, which are from the Sony Alpha. And if you guys remember, the Sony Alpha can only record 30 minutes at a time. So this was an 1.5 hour show. So I had 3 clips, roughly about, hour and 20 minutes plus or minus. And what I need to do is I can't drag them all onto the same timeline, because if I do that, it gets a little messy. And maybe again, if I can, someone please let me know. But what I'll do is I'll select them. You just select all 3, and then I can hit nest. You want to right click and nest. And what nest does, it just puts them all in one little timeline. So I'll delete this track. I'll delete this track. So now this is its own little timeline. So check this out. So now you can see it's all synced in on one. You get this little space up top here that indicates a gap, but that means that the camera turned off and I restarted it. So that's, again, first thing I'll do, or the next thing I do, not the first thing I'll do. The next thing that I think is important here, again, I'm not even in the editing process of it. I like, again, to make sure that all my angles are good. Nobody's head's getting chopped off, which I've done a few times. So I'll click, again, remember you guys, I copied and paste this. What I'll do is I'll click the first one, and I like to bring him in a little bit. So I'll bring Troy in here, because this is going to be a shot. And I'll probably raise him up a little bit right there, so you can see his whole face and head. And then I'll do the same with this shot, so that way, again, for presentation wise, it's you capture just me as you capture me as me and him, or the speaker, if you will. One thing, I'm sorry guys, as I'm moving through this, and it's my first time trying to teach something like this. What I do is you can see my head's a little cut off here, so that might be a little lost in the presentation, but that's okay. I can navigate through that. You do that by hitting effects control. So each file here has its own area where you can make changes to the specific camera or audio. So again, for Troy, I click that, and you can see that I moved his position. You can move the position left or right. Whoops. So you see for Troy, I can move his position left or right with this one right here. You can move it up or down with this one right here, and then you can zoom in and zoom out. Okay. So I think that's pretty good here. And again, I'll do that for myself. Moving me a little right. I don't want to zoom in too much, because again, I cut my head off. So it's okay. So that's kind of how I navigate that. And then the second one, again, these are the same shots here, but the second one, what I'll do with this one is I like to do a split screen. And this is where I say shout out to Think Media. When you view their podcasts and their episodes, they do kind of a little different when it comes to the in-person stuff. So, and I watched one of their videos, and I'm like, okay, I want to do my presentation like that. So now, again, this is the zoomed in shot. So now what I'll do is these little eyeballs basically turn off those cameras, so you can work on your next frame. So what I'll do is I'll go in and click the file that I need. I'll hit, there's a little thing here on the bottom left panel that you want to go to effects, and then you type in crop. And what crop is going to allow me to do is when I hit crop, I'll drag the crop on top of each file here. And then it brings up this little panel on the bottom where you can figure out which way you want to crop. As you can see here, I'm going left or right. I'm doing this because I want to create this split screen that both me and that both captures me and Troy. So here's that one. And then here's the other one. Let me see here if I did this right. So let's see here. What am I missing? So this other one right here, as I'm editing, I want to get myself caught in this split screen here. So I'm gonna move mine here a little left. Again, I'm little cut out here, so we're gonna adjust it a little bit. And that's a user error here, so it's all good. All right, cool. So now it's this split screen view as I'm editing, and this is my fourth camera that I add into my multi-camera editing. And hopefully this all works out. Let me just make sure I'm still synced here. Yeah, so I'm still synced. It's all good here. So that's to me this is again, it creates, it's not necessary. It creates another element of a dynamic video. And that's just me. I didn't have to do that. I just figured it'd be kind of cool to do. And it is. I like it. I actually enjoy it quite a bit. And I think the people who I've produced shows with, and when they go back and look at their stuff, they're like, oh, that's pretty dope. So that's something that I do. Now, the next thing, I have all my cameras. I just want to make sure that everything is kind of where I need it to be. So I'll just go back into the beginning. I'll start with Troy's. His is good. I like that. He's going to be, I think that's a good one. Here's the other one. That's the one of me. I think that's good. And then these are the split screen ones. For some reason, this one, I don't know why it's cut out at the beginning. I'll just do this. Yeah, good. So I had missed a little area here where I didn't drag it all the way, but I think we're good now. All right, cool. So now I have this split screen, right? Technically, again, 3 cameras, but I add it as a fourth element. The next thing is, all right, here, let's get down to the editing. Let's get to work. This is the hard stuff. So what I do is what you need to do here next is you need to highlight these all. Make sure you unmask them, if you will. You highlight them all, right? So I have, actually, backtrack. The next thing that you have to do is, because of my split screen camera that I did here with me and Troy, that I divided us, you want to turn that into a nesting sequence. And what the nesting sequence is going to do is very similar to the first one I did, where I put the 3 cameras together. It's going to put these 2 together as one file, and you'll see what happens. So I highlighted them, I right-click them, and then I'm going to nest these into one. Hit OK. Okay. And then you go ahead and delete the track. Now I have 4 cameras. Again, 3 technically because that's how I recorded this episode, but I have 4, and I'll highlight the 4 together after I unmask these, and then I'm going to do one final nest. Okay, hit the nest. All right, now there. So I hit the nest. And now I have here one sequence that has all 4 files in here. So you can see as I double click that, it shows me all 4 files, but this is where I'm going to be working in the space here. So I click this, and now I can right click it, multi-camera, because I have multi-cameras, and I'll hit enable. Boom. It should bring me here, and then I'll hit right click this little toggle, or I normal click this little toggle multi-cameras, and you can see now it shows all of the cameras. And as we get into it right here, that's when the main camera turns on. And I hit play. And I hit play. And you can see here now, I have all 4 cameras all in one, right? So now, what has to happen is I got to listen to the podcast. I got to go through the entire transcript. But here's a little cheat code that I really just learned is you can go into this text tab right here, regular click it, and it's 3 little dots. You hit generate static transcript, okay? Let me show you what I do with the transcript. So what it's now doing is pulling all of the data from the audio file so it can transcribe it for me. And once it's done, it would allow me to go ahead and put in speaker 1 as Paul and speaker 2 as Troy. And I'll show you what I'm going to do with that after the fact. But for the most part, I'm pretty much done with like the simple stuff. Again, might not be the right way. There's probably a lot faster ways to do it. And whomever could teach me that, that'd be awesome. But I pride myself in just kind of learning it and figuring it out. Sorry. And which I've done. So again, wait a couple minutes. What I then would do is, and again, I'll spare you guys some time here, but when the transcript is done, I then can kind of go through the transcript on the bottom here on the left, and any area that I know that was either dead space or was space of me talking about stuff that I don't want to include, I can click it and it will literally prompt me anywhere in this timeline. And then I can razor it out and clip it out completely. So this is the basic piece of how I, edit the podcast. What I would do is at this point, these are just some tricks of the trade, if you will. All right. So let's assume that Troy's transcript was done. And I'm going to go ahead and go into ChatGPT. I will go ahead and hit add photos and files. And listen, ChatGPT is a tool, guys. It makes things so much easier. Especially as an independent podcaster or I'm doing everything on my own. I don't care that I use ChatGPT because if I was just the host and going back and forth, somebody would be doing this for me anyway. But let's see here. So I go into ChatGPT. I open up my transcript. So this is the transcript from my 75th episode, let's just say. So let's just assume that this was Troy. So I will say, create for me a title based on this transcript, create a description, chapters, and viral moments for Opus. Clip anything where I can prompt my clips. So I hit enter. It takes the transcript and it's going to pull the entire thing. So here's this was my 75th episode, how podcasting brought me back to faith in Christ. Again, if this was Troy's episode, it'd say completely different. And then it goes to the description and then the chapters and then the keywords and all this other stuff. And then here's the prompting. So you can do a couple of things when it comes to clipping. I use Opus Pro. Opus Pro, I pay an annual membership for it. And Opus Pro will literally take my YouTube. So I go to my dashboard. And if I wanted to, once this was exported into YouTube and loaded, I would drop the link into here. Once I drop the link into here, as you can see from my more recent shows with Kristen Coronado, my individual show, CJ Sadi, Jay Kaluro, again, another individual show, Drew Rossi, you can see here that these are all the thumbnails from my show. So we'll just do Christian's show. With that transcript, with the prompts that it gives me, I can then, I can then use these prompts, right? Copy them and paste them into Opus Clip Anything. And when it does, we'll just go to this one real quick. What it would do, it will find those moments for me. So I don't have to go back and do them. Now, again, I can go back and do it myself, but I'm trying to streamline my process completely. So now I have long form and short form content that I could put out. So, my long form goes on YouTube, my short form goes on Instagram, TikTok, and the like. So Opus is something that I use. And then, at the end of this, which will take me again about an hour and a half to completely finish from beginning to end, it's trial and error. What I do is I'll, again, listen to it for about how long as the episode is. So again, this one's an hour and a half. I'll clip out any unnecessary stuff, export the transcript, put it into ChatGPT, kind of analyze it, tell it to make improvements where I think needs to be made improved. I take screenshots from this. I take screenshots from our show. I'll put it into Canva and I make the thumbnail. And then that's pretty much it. I think with all these tools, it makes it super easy and convenient for creators. And, for me, what I'm trying to do is help people grow their brands and feel confident in a space where it's really relevant in 2025, to be completely honest. So this is my workflow. Shout out to Opus for the seamless ease of use of their product online. I love my Sony camera, the Alpha A7 IV. I love all the Rode equipment. You can hear now as I'm talking into this mic, I'm always pleased with the quality of sound that this mic has. And then again, the Adobe software, which makes it easy. Again, it's a little bit of a learning curve. I'm not sure if I move too fast through this tutorial, if you will. And if I did, I'll maybe do a little bit of a slower breakdown. This is my first time ever attempting to do this. But for the most part, that's pretty much it. Somebody was asking me the other day, what's your workflow? How long does it take you? This is pretty much it. And it didn't always take this, it wasn't always this quick. It was something that took me a little while to figure out, but now that I got it, it's pretty seamless. So what I can then do is, after this is done, I could basically export it. I throw some music from Epidemic Sound. And then, guys, you can see now that the transcript has finished here. So, I'll hit the speaker and I'll put Paul as speaker 1 and Troy as speaker 2. So then when I export the file, you can see that Troy Brunson transcript. It's easy when I put it into ChatGPT to identify who's who when speaking. But other than that, yeah, I think this is my tutorial. If you guys liked it, please share it. Give me a like on YouTube. I think the biggest thing with creating is just start somewhere. You don't have to have this plan. I never have a plan, and if you don't have a plan, go to GPT and ask it what plan it is for the ideas that you're working on, and it will walk you through it. So this is my tutorial. Hope you guys like it. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe to the channel, the show. Follow me on Instagram. Again, shout out to these awesome products that I'm using. I will continue using them. And until next time, guys, thank you very much.